From 14 News, this is Touchdown Live in the Huddle, your live streaming pregame football show. Sponsored by Chick-fil-A West Evansville. Delivery from us to you. Order ahead through the Chick-fil-A app.
What's up, everybody? Happy Thursday. Happy getting closer to another week of football day. So many ways to describe today. It's also a great day because it's time for another episode of Touchdown Live in the Huddle. Isn't that right, Mitch?
Oh, sure is, Max. If you're joining us for the first time, each week you and I go in the huddles of your favorite teams across the tri-state and give you an inside look before Friday's big games.
We sure do. Plus, we're taking a deeper dive into the people who make up the teams with interviews, feature stories to shine a light on the minds behind the magic we see on the field every week. And Mitch, let's start off this episode by checking out our Player of the Week, Roland Vera Jr. from last week. I had a chance to go talk with him earlier this week.
Let's do it.
All right, week 4 Player of the Week, Roland Vera Jr. You had a killer game, man. Let's run through those stats first. 225 yards, 3 total touchdowns. Got to be feeling good after a performance like that.
Oh, definitely. I think by far that was my best performance out of my high school career, for sure.
All right, well, we got to present you with our Player of the Week pigskin. You earned it, man, with even your play overall all season long. How do you feel like you've grown throughout the year so far?
I just got to keep improving on my, receiving skills, rushing skills, passing skills, and just make sure I'm perfect every game to where I can make those plays.
All right, be honest with me. Do you ever get tired on these long, extended plays where Davies is launching the ball to you and you just got to catch it and keep running?
Yeah, definitely. I'm just got to try to make a play no matter what, but I definitely get tired for sure.
Do you have a favorite highlight play you've had all year so far?
Definitely that catch with that bobble catch versus North for that touchdown, that 50-yard touchdown. That was probably my favorite one so far.
Was there a point in there because I would have dropped that, was there a point in there where you're like, uh-oh?
At the beginning, he was right in front of me. I was like, man, I don't even know if I'm going to get that. I just tried to get my hand in there. It just ended up going my way and just had to make a touchdown.
All right, what are you looking to get done rest of the season?
Just keep more receiving yards. Hopefully I can add on some more rushing stats in there too. So.
Great to check in with Roland. Man, is he having quite the season so far.
Yeah, he's going to be a guy we have to keep an eye on for the rest of the season. Wouldn't be surprised at all if we see him nominated again at some point this year.
Well, now we turn it right around and find out who will be visiting on next week's episode of In the Huddle. Time for the moment of truth. Drum roll, please, good sir. All right, congrats to Gibson Southern's Tanner Boyd.
Max, no doubt a deserving candidate. The Titans quarterback showcased his dual threat abilities last week.
He sure did. Boyd passed for 122 yards, rushed for 104, scored 2 touchdowns in the Titans' monster 38-10 win over Southridge. Great performance for the Titan QB and a big win. We will pay him a visit next week on next week's episode of In the Huddle. Congrats, Tanner.
Congrats, man.
All right, coming up on In the Huddle, it's time for our Tri-State Insider segment. Mitch and I will break down the biggest plays week in and week out, take a closer look at that game of the week.
And you can't break down the plays without talking to the men who come up with them. We'll reveal our game of the week, and we'll hear from both coaches to let us know what to expect. Stick around.
Welcome back to In the Huddle. You all saw the intro. You know what time it is. But if you had it on mute, I'll just tell you again. Tri-State Insider time. Mitch, I always tell the folks about your resume, take the reins today. Give yourself a pat on the back. You played football, yes?
Yeah, I played football. Okay. I was a state champ with Southridge. Then I went on to play for Ball State. Was lucky enough to play in 2 bowl games, win 1. Thank goodness. Go Cardinals. So, as always, I'm ready to talk some ball.
All right. Well, Mitch, let's do it. Hey, everybody, in this segment, we break down our Touchdown Live game of the week. Our expert, Mitch, helps us break down some big plays by both teams last week. Check out who to watch out for in the upcoming matchup, and my personal favorite, Carter's Call, where Mitch makes the pick on who will come out on top.
Week 6 right now, 4-1, looking to jump to 5.
All right, you, my friend, are on a roll. But before we can pick who's going to come out on top, we need to find out where we are headed.
Max, we're going back to where the 2023 season began for us. Back to paradise. We've got the Castle Knights hosting the Wrights Panthers.
Let's start by checking in on how these teams fared last week Coach Doug Hurt and his Knights are coming off a tough loss in Week 5 to Vincennes Lincoln, where the Alices were able to squeak one past the Knights, 26-21. But rest assured, his squad will be coming out to play, looking to knock off undefeated Coach Brunson and his Panthers.
Well, how about those Panthers? An absolute juggernaut so far this season, outpacing their opponents 185-28. Now, too early to be predicting postseason runs, maybe, but they've impressed so far, including being the home to one of our previous players of the week, Roland Vera Jr. Excited to see these two go head-to-head on Friday night.
All right, Mitch, 3-2 Castle versus 5-0 Wrights, but as we already know, records don't tell the whole story. What are we looking at on Friday?
You're absolutely right. Well, Max, let's start with Castle. Sort of a mixed bag this year from their games. We've seen blowout wins against Mater Dei and Harrison, but an absolute slugfest against Bosse. Their only 2 losses, 2 one-score games, one against North to start the year off and one last week, like I mentioned, against Vincennes Lincoln. So this is a situation where you can argue that a record just over 500 doesn't carry too much weight because they're competitive week in and week out. Right here, let's take a look at their defense really quick. This is week 2. Mater Dei trying to get it going, and Benny Patterson, number 93, says no, notching himself a TFL on the night. In fact, his first of many. Speak of the devil, later on the same drive, it's 3rd down. Wildcats need one here, and there he is again. Patterson laying the lumber, dashing any hopes of a Mater Dei TD. Dogs like that on the D-line working together can spell trouble for a quarterback and an offense on any given Friday night.
Yeah, I mean, we saw it in the tape right there. I want to touch on the importance of a guy like Benny Patterson up front, especially for the defensive system Coach Hurt and Castle run. What does a guy like that up front bring to that defense?
Yeah, well, guys like that, especially like Benny Patterson, big guy like that, can not only take away attention of offensive linemen, guys like that tend to play in the backfield like we just saw there. That disrupts motions, that disrupts dropbacks, timing, all that sort of stuff an offense work on. Things they need to have flowing kind of consistently to get things rolling, that can be all boogered from the start with a guy like that.
All right, certainly something that could potentially interrupt Wrights' offensive rhythm. We're certainly looking forward to seeing Coach Hurt lead his young men on Friday. We've seen guys like Antonio Harris, Max McCool tearing it up on the offensive side of the ball as well. But let's move on to the undefeated Wrights. What are we looking for with them?
Well, we talked about their point spread over 5 weeks, the top of the segment here. They've been putting it on teams all year long, and every chance to take down an SIAC rival, best believe they're going to take it. Let's check out some of their film. Starting off here with their 69-7 win over Central last week, Ben Davies gets it out to Roland Vera Jr. We know he's lightning in a bottle. I mean, I'm making boys miss. Taking it down the sideline there. There's some evasive moves. Just can't quite get it in. Down to the 1-yard line. Not only can they put up points, we know they're stout on defense, only letting up 28 all season so far. So here are some of those clips of the defensive plays from the Panthers, and let's talk stats while we're rolling. 102 solo tackles as a team, 34 TFLs, 13 sacks, and kind of a fun one here. I don't have an exact number, but I know for a fact, I've seen them. They've got a few safeties under their belt as well. 6 INTs, 6 forced fumbles. When you've got a defense that can not only put the ball back in the hands of your offense, but put up points themselves, shoot, you got a recipe for an undefeated squad. That's how that happens.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I mean, just both sides of the ball really rolling on all cylinders there. All right, Mitch, we've seen the tape. We've talked X's and O's. We just saw how much Wrights can impact on both sides of the ball. Playmakers on both sides. A huge SIAC matchup. But you know how it goes. Somebody's got to win. Somebody's got to lose. So it's time for Carter's call. Who's it going to be, buddy?
Yeah, well, Max, on paper, Wrights, clear favorite here, 5-0. On the flip side, you've got the Knights who have shown themselves, like I said, to be scrappy, to really stay in games. Look for Ben Davies to let it fly to some of his favorite targets, including Vera Jr. for the Panthers. For Castle, I'm keeping my eye on Harris out wide, McCool in the backfield, and Caden Gordon under center. Now, we've seen it before. They can pull out a big play at any time. Tonight's X factor, though, I'm going home field advantage for the Knights. They've got something to prove here in front of their crowd, and I'm excited to see them try and pull out all the stops to knock off undefeated Big Brother Wrights. Will it be enough, though? That's the question. And I love an underdog, Max. Don't get me wrong, but in my heart of hearts, I believe Wrights is a wagon here in 2023 for this season. I'm going all in on them moving to 6-0. Give me the Panthers on Friday night. All right, Max, so we've started our dive into the game of the week, but before we hear from the coaches in the next segment, let's check in on another squad who had a great week last week.
And they have a major test coming up. Let's take a closer look at the Gibson Southern Titans. The Titans put themselves to the test, scheduling a very tough non-conference slate. They played Kentucky's Class 4A defending champ Boyle County and 2021 Class 5A champion South Warren, in addition to perennial small school power Mount Carmel in Southern Illinois. While Nick Hart's squad didn't enjoy going 1-2 against those three, it was more about the challenge and getting better for the long run, and that paid off last Friday in their big win over Southridge.
It's one of the reasons why we want to do that. It exposed some things we were doing and things we had to get better at and fix. And I think we got a lot better. We've grown up a lot because of the teams that we've played. We're not there, but we're getting there. I think we keep making steady improvements. I think the biggest ones are our offensive line's playing a lot better, and that's helped us offensively, obviously.
We put ourselves on our hard schedule, and I think it really makes us a lot better as a team. You know, we play the best of the best, so when we come down here, we can try to outperform a lot of people. It just gives us a better look at a lot more talent than we might see around here. We're looking a lot better. I mean, offense is firing on all cylinders, defense is firing on all cylinders. We're just really working together so far.
Well, big one coming up. Gibson Southern gets another big test as they welcome undefeated Heritage Hills to town. Two PAC Titans going head-to-head. We'll have highlights of that game Friday night right here on Touchdown Live.
All right, coming up on In the Huddle, don't go anywhere. We caught up with both coaches of the week for our game of the week. We will check in and see where they're at ahead of the big matchup.
Plus, I'm back with our favorite toy, the Telestrator. We're taking a look at some of the best plays from last week. Don't go anywhere.
Welcome back in, everyone. It's time to hear from both coaches for our Game of the Week teams and check in on what they're focused on ahead of the big matchup. First, let's take a look at the Castle Knights. Coming off of a tough loss to Vincennes Lincoln, it's going to be about getting back on track. And defensively, Coach Hurt knows his Knights are going to have their hands full given all the talent Wrights has on offense.
You know, you try to make teams play left-handed. Well, that's difficult when, you know, you can run and throw. And so they've got a very dynamic running game, you know, two-back stable that has done really, really well for them. Got a very solid offensive line up front that gets after it. And you've got those dynamic receivers and a quarterback that can get them the ball, very accurate quarterback. They've given offense or defensive fits all season, and you know, it's quite a challenge to go in against these guys.
Now over to Wrights. Coach Brunson had a similar message. He knows Castle has some strong guys on both sides of the ball. First, he touched on Antonio Harris offensively, and then a guy defensively that Mitch and I just discussed earlier on who can make a big impact, Benny Patterson.
I mean, he's definitely a very good football player. We definitely need to know where he's at all times because I mean, he's one that could take a play that they may not block it well and still make a big play out of it. So he's one, you know, we definitely got to know where he's at all the time and hopefully we can slow him down because I know he's had a very good season. Defense, we got to know where he's at and make sure we get him blocked and hopefully we can be physical and up front and protect.
Plenty to be excited for. Tune in tomorrow at 4, 5, and 6. I'll be live in Paradise, and we'll break down the game even more in the lead-up to kickoff. Now, moving away from our game of the week, it's the most wonderful time of the show. Mitch has been busy at that Telestrator. He's got some plays. He's pumped to show you all. Mitch, take it away.
Well, thank you, Max. We had a star-studded Week 5 of touchdowns, sacks, and picks. Leading the charge for our plays of the week, we're heading out to Enloe Field, where the other unbeaten SIAC squad Memorial was hosting Harrison. Let's roll the clip. Warriors get the ball first and posted some promise. Let's stop right here. Get up one time. Someone call up Randy Moss. Brooks Thomas would like a word with you. Climbing the ladder here, elevating above everybody else right here in double coverage. Young man, get the head tap. Climb the ladder here with a star-studded highlight. Go ahead and roll the rest of that clip there. Nice catch for the tight end here. Get up and celebrate a little bit, young man. It doesn't hurt to be a tall guy by trade. Would not be enough, though. Warriors fall 29-zip. Well, up next, let's take it to the west side at the Wrights Bowl, where you've got an uncharacteristic Mater Dei sitting at 1-3, hosting 2-2 Jasper. We're jumping in here in the second quarter where the Wildcats lead 14-13. Let's go ahead and roll the clip. Coming off a first down, Butel hands off to Caden Ernie, who cuts it left here, then cuts it back, slicing and dicing through Mater Dei defense, working his way to the end zone. Stop right here. Oh, things are looking dire for the young man. Just missed a tackle right back here. See his shoe hanging out. One guy here on his legs, one guy here coming into his hips. We're within the 5 here, but you never know. I mean, guys hit hard in here, trying to stop a touchdown. But you'll see here when we roll the clip here, young man, Ernie, pulling a little beast quake here, leaning out. Word to Marshawn Lynch, laying it on the line, reaches in for 6. He would not be denied, and neither would the Wildcats, taking this one 35-21 over Mater Dei. And finally, let's head out to Evansville and down into Kentucky, where Apollo was looking to finally scrape a win out, hosting 3-1 Muhlenberg County. Now we're jumping in at the third quarter with Apollo in control, leading 14-0. Let's roll that clip. Right away, Maxwell Johnson takes the snap, heads out to Eli. Stop right here. Eli Masterson looking like tired for number 15. Two guys right here in full motion, looking blurry. Can't hardly see him. Secondary here, eyes on him, heading that way. But let me tell you something. Eli Masterson, number 15, playing receiver, not wearing gloves. This guy isn't afraid of a gang tackle. In fact, we're about to see what a quick cut can do when defenders are dropping their heads here, taking poor angles. Let's roll the clip. One king, and he splits them, making them look silly, laying on top of one another, and he's off to the races. Masterson hoofing it all the way down for the score. He was active on Friday, and so was Apollo, knocking off Muhlenberg County and picking up their first shutout win, 41-0.
Next on In the Huddle, we're getting out of the red zone, out of the huddle and into the red zone. Stick around to see which player we get a hold of this week.
And we'll break down the schedules for the other games in our area as we get ready for the most wonderful time of the year, heading into a brand new week of those cleats back on the gridiron.
Before we get to our final segment of our show and look at some upcoming games, we have to go in the red zone.
Absolutely. Our Aaron Hancock travels around and takes players into the red zone where he asks them rapid-fire questions in 1 minute.
All right, let's see who Aaron caught up with this week.
Let's do it.
All right, guys, we're here with Gibson Southern senior Braden Reinhardt for our In the Red Zone segment. Braden, how you doing?
Doing good, thank you.
Awesome, awesome. Well, let's get it going. What is your favorite pregame hype-up song?
Pre-game hype, probably Dreams and Nightmares by Meek Mill.
Okay, what's your favorite pregame meal?
My mom makes pretty mean lasagna, so that's pretty good to have. It'd be nice to have it before a game, but yeah.
Sounds delicious. Who is the biggest team prankster?
Team prankster, probably Mason Scheller.
Okay, what does he do?
Just a goofy guy, you know.
What is your favorite NFL team?
NFL team, probably Colts.
All right, favorite college football team?
IU.
Awesome, awesome. Who do you consider your biggest rival?
Say Heritage Hills.
Awesome, awesome. All right, food, ketchup or mustard?
Ketchup for sure.
All right, Coke or Pepsi?
More of a Pepsi guy.
Okay, favorite color?
Red.
All right, what is your favorite subject in school?
I'm a big math guy.
All right, and what do you want to do in college?
Probably engineering.
Okay,
Yep.
all right. Awesome, awesome. All right, man, well, I appreciate you joining us.
You too.
All right, thanks, Aaron. Always fun. I love hearing Aaron out there talking with all the players across the tri-state. But now it's time to take a look at some more games across the area. Let's get you all pumped up for our Week 6 slate. Let's have a look at what we have on deck. Mitch is getting very pumped. We already have our Game of the Week rights at Castle. Here are some other games in town. Memorial is at Bossy, the Bulldogs, and Elijah Wagner trying to make something happen on offense. Vincennes Lincoln is visiting Harrison. Then North is paying a visit to the Mater Dei Wildcats. Central traveling over to Jasper. All those kickoffs at 6:30. Big one to keep an eye on. Last week's Game of the Week winner, Heritage Hills, heads to a team on fire we looked at. We just talked about Gibson Southern. He said Heritage Hills, their big rival. This one's going to be fun. The Titans coming off a 38-10 win over Southridge from last week.
That's right, Max. Breaking my heart, but I just said it. Two longtime PAC top contenders going head-to-head. I'm excited to see those two strap it up on Friday night.
Yeah, Mitch, and plenty more games to look at coming up.
Yes, sir. We're looking at some more quality matchups all across the board here. I've got some picked out of my own. At 6:30, you've got the Rebels of South Spencer heading into Ranger Country up there in Ferdinand. Meanwhile, North Posey looking to avenge a tough one last week. We just talked about it against Heritage Hills when they take the trip over to Tecumseh, hoping to lay a lick on the Rebels. They kick off at 7 o'clock, the Braves. Well, let's take her down south here for a second. Apollo, look at those Eagles go. Fresh off their first win of the season, looking to tack on another one when Owensboro comes to town. The Red Devils, dangerous as ever. Then you've got your undefeated Aces taking the bus ride to Crittenden County, looking to add the Rockets to their long list of victims this season. They've been steamrolling teams. And last but certainly not least for me, I'm keeping an eye on the Davis County Panthers, looking for a piece of those Dragons over at Warren Central. Mount Carmel electing to stay home this week. The Golden Aces prepping for a showdown with the Paris Tigers. Both those games kicking off at 7 o'clock.
All right, we've taken a look at the schedule, so it's time to go. Thank you all so much for watching this week of Touchdown Live in the Huddle, our pregame show. We hope you enjoyed our in-depth look at some of the best football teams across the tri-state.
That's right. We'll be back here each Thursday night at 7 o'clock to preview teams in creative ways. Of course, as always, this would not have been possible without our entire production crew and marketing team. Thank you all for all the work you've put in to make this whole thing happen.
And for highlights of all your favorite games, be sure to join us back here for our Touchdown Live show every Friday night on our 14 Sports app at 10:35. Then, of course, we'll feature our express version on 14 News at 10. We'll see you there.